What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Madonna, and we've reached the end of Ray of Light 1998. Thank you as always to Mark, as well as to Yvonne, who sent me the Ray of Light single CD, but in fact, we now have access, big thank you to Stephan, to the bonus, or the track that's not on most releases of the record, but was included on the Japanese market release. So yes, big thank you to Stephan, and that's what we'll react to next time, and then following that, I'm going to go through at least a couple of the mixes on the single CD sent by Yvonne. So again, we're now finishing the regular version of the album with Mer Girl, more on that in a minute, and again, thank you to those who reminded me the essence of that phrase, but we have one more bonus track followed by some remixes from the single CD. In any case, Mer Girl, people mentioned that this is like mermaid or merman. It's the idea of a human, but who lives in the sea and whose physical anatomy is reflective of that. And obviously I'm inclined to take that as a metaphor, or at least a visual that is conceptually significant, maybe emotionally significant, but is not necessarily, a fairy tale about an actual mer girl. Though even then, I wouldn't be surprised if it could be framed that way, but perhaps you can extrapolate the meaning in relation to her child or to the, figurative implications of such a tale. So either way, let's give it a listen and I'll see what I can catch. This is Madonna. It's Mer Girl, and it's the final regular song on her 1998 album, Ray of Light.
Who haunts me, even though she's gone, from my daughter that never sleeps. I ran from the noise and the silence, from the traffic on the streets. I ran to the treetops, I ran to the sky, up to the lake, into the rain that matted my hair and soaked my shoes and skin, hid my tears, hid my fears. The churches, in the crooked old mailbox, past the apple orchards, and a lady that never talks, up into the hills. I ran to the cemetery and held my breath and thought about your the hills. I ran and I ran, I'm looking there still. And I saw the crumbling tombstones, all the forgotten leaves. I tasted the rain, I tasted my tears, I cursed the angels, I tasted my fears. And the ground gave way beneath my feet, and the earth took me in her arms. Leaves covered my face and smudged across my back. The black sky opened up, blinding me. I ran to the forest, I ran to the trees, I ran and I ran, I was looking for me. I ran to the lakes and up to the hill, I ran and I ran, I'm looking there still. And I smelled her burning flesh, her rotting bones, her decay. I ran and I ran, I'm still running away.
That is a stunning album closer, and in a way, it's sonically unique on the album, maybe in her larger catalog. Not that there hasn't been some tunes of hers which have a bit of an ambient quality or a bit deeper and more intimate in their characteristics, but this one was more of all of those descriptions than anyone I can recall. And again, quite different from the, not entirely, but largely electronic infused and, synth sounding characteristics of this album. And again, there's been variety over the course of the record, but yeah, this one is just a really interesting album closer. In a way, I'm going through different artists, and I'm going through Tori Amos, and Tori often has these very, breathy vocals where you can, hear her shaping the words, you can hear her breathe. There's a sort of, unfiltered, raw quality to some of her vocal work, and this was maybe the closest I've heard from that style from a Madonna song. And it did also, and not unlike that artist, this had this visually vivid and yet clearly what's the right word? Not like fantasy, but and not necessarily allegory either. It had this visual poetry quality to it, and I imagine there is layered meaning in a lot of these lines. But yeah, it felt like this story which was not fully mystical, yet not fully terrestrial, for lack of a better word. And yeah, so it's she's talking about running away, and running away from her mother who's no longer there. I think that was the line. And, talking about her daughter, and then, sort of running up the hills to the trees and the leaves, running and the rain is on her, which is helping hide her tears, which that's a pretty common poetic motif, that when there's no clear distinction between precipitation and also your tears, it allows you to hide those types of emotions, but then also hiding her fears, but then eventually saying she can taste the rain and taste her fears, and then she's going to the cemetery. And then at the end, and some really stark lines that I wasn't prepared for, although maybe related to going to the cemetery and maybe her mother not being there, but like, you know, smelling her burning flesh, her rotting bones, her decay, which, you know, is whether that's about the, you know, cremation and burial, which on some level seem like they're kind of two different things, right? If you can smell someone's burning flesh, it sounds like they've been cremated and, you know, hopefully not, you know, burnt at the stake or something like that. But then if you can like get a sense of their decaying bones and their decay more generally, that sounds like burial and the sort of withering away of the physical remains over time. But all of that sounds like or feels like it could be metaphor, and it could be like in your head. It's like, you know, your memory, like I can't get away from it. And even if you're, you know, sort of decaying and you're not this vital and vibrant aspect of my emotional experience, I can't get away from it. And even if, you know, rain can be cleansing and purative and also, you know, like masking, I'm also like feeling and tasting that as it relates to this emotional trajectory. So again, it feels like it all could be metaphor or reflective of a journey that is like internal and or psycho-emotional, but I don't really know how to piece it together other than expecting this is surely autobiographical in some sense and seemingly generational too, if you're like referencing a parent but also your child with you kind of in between temporally. So yeah, a really interesting one, a stunning tune, vocally, musically slash the composition and arrangement, and also to the degree that I could follow it thematically and lyrically. So a stunning closer. Once again, thank you to Mark. Thank you to Stephan. I will react to that bonus tune next time. Thank you to Yvonne, not only for the single CD, which we'll go through at least a few of those, but I think she's also made available the next proper album. So bottom line, the Madonna journey will continue, but we've got some special little treats in the coming weeks and months, and then we'll move on to the next album. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Peace.